And we are now live. Welcome. It's Saturday. Life has been hectic out here in the Porniki. But we're on the air with Warkina Tujuba, newly elected, what's your role again? Deputy Chair of the African Community Councils of Wellington. And we're also here with Ben Kitel. How are you, bub?
Kia ora. Good, thank you. Good to be here. Although I wish it was in different circumstances, but still.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys and good to be here.
Yeah. Let me just do this here because I want to make sure I hear you. Move your mic a little closer, buddy.
Oh yeah, would
Yeah. All right. So we're in here today because we're going to have a little yarn about what's happening on Monday. And if you've been, but before we even get to that, I just want to make a couple of announcements. Tonight there is an African Women's Night. Gathering. Are you able to tell me a little bit more about that? Because I sort of found out late in the piece.
I honestly can't give you more information. I can find out what the details are more specifically, but
yeah, I've got the poster and stuff, but I didn't know much about the back. But
it's one that's been running for a while, where I think Jesse leads it.
Yeah,
and you probably know more about this than I do as well.
I've been to them, but I didn't know all the ins and outs of this one, except that I don't have spring clothes. That's what I know. I don't have
spring clothes.
We're supposed to be dressing spring. When has anybody seen me springed?
Bro, Leah's dressed right now, so you're like, what's essentially a spring?
I don't know. Like, that's going to be a hard one. I think that might just mean, what does that mean? Flowers? I never wear flowers. But anyway.
It's giving flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Flowers and
it's giving flowers.
Yeah.
You know. But
something change of season, I don't know.
I think I just changed my shirt.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Oh, did you?
I'll go from black to cream.
Brown.
Okay, and the other announcement, so that's tonight. So I know there's an email that's gone around the community and everyone else. It's up near the basin, that's what I do know. And if I pull it up, because, you know, I've got to do things on multitasking is what I've become. It's a maestro. I'm a maestro at this now. But yeah, well, there you are. I just seen you. Also, this Women's Night is going to be. There it is. It's going to be at the Whiskey and Wood New Zealand, level 160 Cambridge Terrace.
Nice.
2 p.m. till late. So, and then also 2 p.m. till late, and then also at Cutler's on 180 High Street, DJ Dozen and KB the DJ are doing an R&B night where you can hear your R&B.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Tonight. So that's going to be tonight at 8 p.m. and it's a fundraiser to help the family of Luke Smith, who unfortunately passed away less than 10 days ago. I think it was 10 days ago. So yeah, so we're talking today about the rally that's going to be...
Peaceful
Assembly, yeah. That's going to be at the High Court. But Tujuba, you've been right in the middle of all of that. So, like, give us a little bit of a background. And also, you know, you can give us a bit of background about your role has been. How's that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll do... Yeah, I'll speak on what we're planning come Monday, but... My biggest excitement right now is newly elected deputy chair for the African Council and absolutely buzzing after last night's election.
Yeah.
And it was the most African thing, right? Like I don't believe in that one.
Yeah.
I love it. I know it's a
point of order,
right? But there's some beauty in we don't have to inherit a system that's somewhat broken. We don't have the best one. I'm not going to say anywhere near that, but it's ours, you know?
Yeah.
And congratulations to Jessie for being elected as the chair. It's a huge step up that's coming into our first female president.
Yeah.
That's huge.
About time.
I mean, it's massive. And I can't wait to work along that side.
Yeah.
And that's some of the initiatives I'm anchored on around pushing. I'm not one of those people that promises the world and be like, free public transport or something like that.
Oh, thank God. I think that makes a nice change.
Nice change, you know? But there's some core simple wins that we can fundamentally focus on, and my oath to that is working with the sub-community groups, right?
Like what do you mean by sub-community groups? Just to be, you know, so I can
Well,
can
to
keep up
the
with.
outside world, Africa is a continent. It's naive, crazy to say this, and of course they've got these powerful countries with vast ethnic groups within those own countries, right? So how do you support these organizations or groups that are looking after the community? Like Ethiopia alone has got 3 different groups that exist, and the African Council has a responsibility, in my opinion, to be a funnel and connecting between that.
Connecting people together.
Connecting that, getting a litmus of what's actually going on. What's the theme? What's the pain across all these variant communities rather than this individually acting? So that's something I'm really going to push for. And then a pillar of three cores: connect, support, and empower.
Right.
Right? Like, how do we connect with one another? What does it mean to be African and
here.
And even Wellington, New Zealand, right?
But isn't that like the topic of the day? Really, when it comes to the African community, what is it like to be African in here?
In Wellington?
No, in the country, in Aotearoa. Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
What is that? I mean, we understand what African Americans are. We understand what Jamaican Britons or Black British or however. We understand those concepts. But when you say you're African and in New Zealand, what does that mean? Like, I know what it means to me, but it could mean something completely different to somebody else.
And it will, right? Like how I can only use myself as a reference. I came here at such a young age, right? I came here when I was 5. So I was straight into the system. Like I was straight, 5-year-olds can't speak English either, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't in depthly without. And so I had every opportunity, in my opinion, that every Kiwi kid would have had. And then, but the change is when I got home.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got home to injera and some yummy food where it was a completely different home environment.
Yeah.
They had parents that helped them with their homework. Me and my older brother at 13 are reading legal papers to my mum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's but you get back to school where we're meant to be the same.
Yeah.
So coexisting, or it's not to let go of your Africanness or your country, but it's understanding the country we navigate, which is in its own right got its own tussles with Tangata Whenua and their strive for it.
Yeah.
But how do we exist within that as a African New Zealander? So for me, it means...
And it's a weird thing for some people to say, because I think New Zealanders... well, this is just... Can I say my opinion on that? I think... Can I?
It's yours, right?
You know, I've got my opinions around that, and you know, New Zealand's a country that when I grew up here and being somebody who was usually the only one everywhere we went, I'd always felt like I was living outside of a fishbowl, and I've said this on other shows.
What do you mean?
I grew up here, but I didn't belong because
right.
I was not. I've always felt like I've been surrounded by tribes that I don't belong to, and I was the only one out. So, you know, like, I mean, I was
mold to fit into
and there wasn't even like a really big African community at that time, right? Like that didn't really happen until like just before the 90s, probably the late 80s. I mean, I do remember the Ethiopian students in Auckland and having a African bar up there like back in the 80s, but that was like a student bar where you carry in
your what?
What do you call those things? I forget what they're called. Your case. They call them. They have special days for them now. Where you carry, the wooden boxes of beer. Crates. The crates.
No, I think it's tabot when for Epiphany, like for
tabot.
I think it's tabot.
You're
talking about the religious thing.
No, I'm talking about the crates of beer. We would carry it into the club.
Oh right. Okay. It's crates, man. Crates.
That was run by Ethiopians.
It
was run by Ethiopians. Our Ethiopian students at Auckland Uni.
I would take that.
Because they used to give me. They used to, like, when we used to hang out with them, they'd make these big plates of spaghetti with all this really rich sauce, which I never saw again until I came to Wellington. Because I moved.
Well, you got me lost, right? It's like beer now.
We would go in there with our crates of beer, put them under the table, and we're drinking long necks in the club. Man, that's the environment that I grew up in, right? With a very few, like a few Africans.
Tell me more. They get like a couple of crates and start doing a little skin.
Oh, they're just playing music. Like, I wasn't even really paying much attention to the music because I was drinking.
So it's just Ethiopians?
Yeah, it was on Simon Street.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the Ethiopian guys ran it.
Wow.
Yeah, they were students at Auckland Uni. And then after that, then there wasn't really much. And I think a lot of them where, you know, there wasn't very many. And then 90s came, and that's when then somebody started seeing, like, in numbers. So I'd never been in that position where I had friends or whatever that were the same ethnicity as me. So I was always the one that's kind of looking left and looking right, and then code switching to wherever I was. I've learned to survive that, right?
But that's not a bad thing. I know some people actually talk about it as if, you know, it's a bad thing. Like, oh, you can code switch, and you know, you sometimes seen as not authentic. Yeah, and that's not really how we should see it. I think people's identity is actually what they make it, and how you actually perceive yourself, and others just have to respect that regardless.
And it's usually a product of just life, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
You've learned to, right? I mean, you adapt in a situation.
In that sense,
So you just it's not a by choice fight or flight aspect, right? Yeah. I speak like this because I don't get spotted out as the elephant in the room. Yeah, like out of it, right? So that's just, it's one's desire to be in a group, in a community.
And I don't think, like in New Zealand, I think that's what's different. That was the other thing about New Zealand being kind of a different sort of thing than England and America. Because also, well, we've got tangata whenua. That's another thing. Like, and also the whole thing about being African in New Zealand is like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? I don't think that my experience is typical of like Africans that have come in the 90s experience, because you've come in large numbers. You know what I mean? And your needs and whatever are quite different from what mine was.
That's so fair and so true. And when they arrive, it's like the age at which they arrive is also another huge factor, right? Yeah. See, me, I've got this Kiwi accent that shocks people, right? You see Warkina Tujuba, and he sounds like that. The amount of double takes I get. Yeah. And I'm like, I
still do it now.
You still do?
I mean, you sound good, bro. I don't
know if that's not good or bad, but I'm more like it's a privilege, if that makes sense, right? Like when people are looking for these things, they're like, oh, he sounds Kiwi. I'm more prone. It's everyone asking for diversity and what it looks like, but it's like a minority that is assimilated the most, right? Their degree of assimilation is how appealing they are, right? You got diversity, get Mutumbo, who's ready to dashiki your look. Not a wild Warkina who's got a weird name, but he sounds and he acts just like everyone else. Yeah. So I'm like, I see you.
Yeah,
that's okay. But you still speak your native language as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, part of that is actually, again, that forms your identity. So regardless of how, because an accent is actually an accent. If you speak more than one language, then like your accent then becomes neutral. Or then, you know, have you seen people like quickly switching between languages? And and I think people actually like jump into a conclusion and kind of like put you in a pigeon box, because that's the easiest way for them to either relate to you or just perceive you. So that's a lazy way of actually approaching it. But we're human, so that's what we do.
That perceiving is right. You're bang on. It's like it's the degree of assimilation. How closely do they come into these areas?
Or adjusting.
And the further they are from this dominant white culture, the more prone to negative stereotypes and assumptions. Who's hired? Who's prosecuted? Like, these things play a factor, and we're measuring. That's what I'm like. Actually, how do we celebrate the bro and not how much he's come to being white or assimilating or fitting in?
And I mean, growing up here, like my dad's Tanzanian. We don't have a huge Tanzanian community here, and Tanzania's not a country that's had civil war, so they're not leaving in numbers. If they come out to work and then they go back home. You know what I mean? But what I found about language, because English is my only language, but I know bits and pieces of so many other languages because I've had to observe being the other everywhere. So when I'm listening to people, I'm listening to language, I'm watching body language, I'm watching all this other stuff, because when you're growing up in an environment that you're not familiar with, or when you're growing up in an environment when you're not surrounded by your people, where you could probably have some sort of safety, you're hyper observant. Is all I could say. You're hyper observant of everything, language. Even if you don't understand it, you're watching how people talk, you're watching how people move, you're watching body languages, you're watching nods.
Language is so powerful,
right?
It's like when you understand someone's language, you understand their customs, like their emphasis on certain words and power, especially in, I mean,
And meanings.
And even Japanese. It's like you know that some things have certain significance in that culture based on the language that's used. Te Reo Māori is a great example as well.
Yeah.
But it's
and I think we should encourage more of that. I know in the past within African group discussions, someone's actually mentioned that she was just greeting about Te Reo Māori, and we got our own languages, and but I think part of that is actually respecting the whenua you're in, and
I always go back to like if this was happening in Tanzania, right, and somebody was coming, and you would expect them to respect the local people, right?
Absolutely.
So we should
and
be,
customs, and part of that customs and language is actually it's not, you don't have to. It's enriching yourself and better communicating and also understanding the land that you're actually like connected to.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on what you said about safety. I think, and part of that is people actually, instead of assimilating, they tend to sort of like congregate together into groups.
oh my god, that's another one.
It is, right? But that's that's actually brought about safety. There's safety in numbers, right? And connections, especially when you're in new land, away for those people who actually have come slightly older. Language could be a bit problematic, so you need safety in numbers and familiarity.
I've been nerding out about this because I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's the same example with taxis. So I'm on this mission of how the taxi industry is holding Ethiopians captive.
What is going on there?
Oh my God! It combines about a shutdown and then. So I've interviewed 220 Ethiopians just because I'm seeing this theme firsthand, right? And 80% of them are taxi drivers or cleaners.
Right.
Right? And so I'm like, why is that? One, it hides what they perceive to be their biggest weakness, which is language. You don't have to be fluent to drive from A to B. The other one, like you said, in congregating as groups, it's a limited problem-solving capability. So if it's a biology 101, everyone's got the same genes, one flu knocks him out. So when someone arrives and they go, how do you do this? You go, I don't know, but I do know how to become a taxi driver.
Yeah.
You got to do this, you got to get that, and bam, you're a taxi driver. I can only teach you what you know, and you learn to write the way your teacher writes.
Right.
And I'm saying our teachers are writing the same damn way, and this industry's dying. And the third one is they built a community centered around this job. If everyone's a taxi driver, they can take their breaks and holidays and reuse together.
People's Cafe. That seems to be the pit stop.
I'm telling you, bro. And this industry it's dying, and I'm all for innovation and progression that the rideshare industry has brought, but the taxi industry is so far behind. Combined, they bought out Zumi. Do you remember Zumi?
Yeah.
Vaguely, right?
Yeah. It's a New Zealand rideshare company that had a marginal market share against a rideshare company. Combined, acquired them, and guess what they do? Rebrand.
Yeah. Okay, so what does that mean though? What does that
they
look
lost
like?
all their clientele. So if they took on Zumi, they bought their customers and just added their fleet of taxis on there. You've created a model where taxis could exist in a hybrid rideshare model and a taxi model.
Right.
But what they did, and they rebranded Zumi to You Ride, which no one uses because I don't know who you are. And so they just lost all this money. And now they are in volunteer administration to see if their funds are, if their accounts make sense. They're very, asset rich rather than cash. So they've got a lot of property around there. And it's just this industry that's dying, and I'm so scared. I feel like this is this comet that's coming, and I'm jumping and yelling. Everyone's like, it's chill, it's chill.
Do you know what? I want to add on to that, and I know this might not be... sorry, do we have time?
No, keep going,
I remember certain politicians within the community who actually used combined taxis and those people actually work within it as a form of sort of campaign, and quite close to them. They used them to sort of push the ideas in terms of like union connections, etc. But when these things are actually happening, I mean, it started about 2.5 months ago. Before the administration, it was there was like a
this?
few articles, the combined taxis,
Oh,
and like
man,
taxi culture in general.
yeah.
But I don't see those politicians or those people in prominent place talking about it, or at least highlighting like some of these guys. Yes, I know Wellington's actually going through quite a lot of change. A lot of people are actually like,
This is going to affect a lot of families, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, this is, but again, it's a responsibility of our communities. You know what I mean? It's ours to amplify their voices right now.
Hang on a second. I want to push back on that because yes, it is partly our responsibilities, but part of that is actually we've elected these people to speak on our behalf, right? So we can't all be there. So we've elected them for them to actually like go and speak on our behalf. And if they're not, especially when it comes to specific things which they've actually used those communities, what are they there for?
Well, you could argue in the same light that Wellington has like a 42% voter turnout.
Yeah.
And as a council, it's a huge thing to, I mean, Wellington's the capital of New Zealand in every aspect, and we have that abysmal turnout. Local government, the last elections, the highest majority of voters was 60 plus.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That's
I know.
crazy.
I'm
so they're just not turning up. You're electing, they're not elected by people that
I
represent
agree with
them.
you. I'm just saying, I think it doesn't actually take much to say, hey, these guys are actually hurting. And this is the kind of families, and these are the effects which it's going to have. It's got a trickle down effect on it, and just highlight and say like, and perhaps we can actually all contribute more, knowing that these guys, instead of using Uber, perhaps consider using one of their services and etc. I know it's not
the day that happens, right? Like these you can sail me down the river 8 times, but the 9th time I'm like, nah, not this. I'm not waiting for that.
Right.
They're not here to rescue us. I honestly don't. They are the ones that put the taxi industry in the place with Simon Bridges. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't absolutely. I'm not saying the last thing you should actually look for is actually the government.
Exactly. It's exactly what happens when something goes wrong.
I'm talking about the individuals, though. I think there's a difference. If you actually have a community representative, or those who've actually like had connection with the community, then I want them to actually like advocate on their behalf. Right. I want them to actually speak about some of these subjects, because everyone else is talking about, you know, the plight of like how people are not going around to Wellington. Wellington is using public services. I mean, I lost most of the contracts. Anyway, that's it. I'm not trying to be involved.
I think that might be a good segue to a bit of music, and then we'll come back and talk about the rally on Monday.
Yes, okay.
And I'm going to pick the music because, you know, like I've just been doing lists and like.
No, I'm ready.
I'm just going to play what I want. Just put it like that.
Play it.
Okay, I'm going to play Bieber because I like it.
Really? That's the conclusion
I like
after
it.
this?
Wait, what?
It's going to rip you up. I need to get... Let's go.
Bieber.
Yeah.
Like, Justin.
Let's go. What's happening? Where's it going?
You're not a fan.
What's happening? I'm trying to find how to turn this on. That's on. DJ Mixer. Or maybe it doesn't want to play. No, it's going. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. We can just keep talking. Jeepers. All right, we're just going to keep talking because I don't know what's going on here. So, all right. So let's just segue to the rally and what's happening at Monday. On Monday, the whys, the purpose. Yeah, let's go.
On Wednesday night, I had heartbreaking. Leah and a couple of us were out at the parents' house, so Luke's parents' house. And being there and seeing their eyes and every essence of it, the pain that they're dealing with and holding on to, and how strong they are was just admirable and brought me close to tears, right? You can't help but picture or imagine the same conversation would happen to your parents, right? So a key theme with this peace rally on Monday at 8:30 outside the courthouse on what's the street?
It's Molesworth. Yeah, it's opposite the Beehive.
Yeah, and is Luke is us, right? So that theme is the grounding factor that we run by. That it could have been any of us, right? Wrong place, wrong time situations come into play, all that. But we have a right for our city to be safe.
Yeah.
And we'll go into deeper on that conversation later and how we can work around that. I'll get Ben to talk about the Porniki promise that plays into it. On Monday, we're meeting at 8:30 for initially and foremost, forefront is to be there for Luke's parents. They don't have any immediate family, and as Africans, we lost one of our own.
Yeah.
And they deserve to be supported, and we want numbers there. That's the first initial thing we could do. Around that is we got the Give a Little account that we want to keep supporting the family for their travel costs to get Luke's body home, and everything that's associated with that, the behind the scenes costs that no one really talks about. So that Give a Little will be shared, and there'll be QR codes on the day.
Yeah.
And the third one is that campaign that how do we make Wellington safe for our youth? They don't feel safe. Your children are not safe in Wellington City, and what can we do around that?
And that's something like I really noticed had changed after I came back from Australia.
What do you mean?
Because, well, okay, so you've been here 22 years. So 1996, if you went down to Courtenay Place, there used to be community groups. This is late on a Friday or a Saturday. They used to have community groups that would be, roasting peanuts, having barbecue, raising money for community groups. So as you're walking down Courtenay Place, there would be all this community stuff going on. The break dancers.
Yeah.
The break dancers are quite a central part of that. And Wellington City Council had some people that were friends of my son's actually. Shout out to Carnage and Co. And they would bring out the lino, and they'd have the DJ down there, and the DJs would be playing, and the kids would be breakdancing. My youngest son used to go to town on a Friday and catch the 1 o'clock bus back with his oldest brother, who's 9 years older than him. And all the older kids would do that, and because my youngest son was breakdancing with his big brother, of course. Right? So it became a family thing, and if they did busking and if they put the hat out, they get some money, they go to time zone, and there'd be older kids looking after younger kids, and then they get on the bus and go home. And it used to be so safe. Sometimes I remember when my son was a little bit older, but not quite 10, we would go for walks down Courtenay Place and watch because they used to have the cars parading. So you had these, I don't know who these guys were, but they used to paint up their cars. They had hydraulics on their cars.
Hot rods.
And they'd just be cruising like really, really slow up Courtenay Place and do the loop down, come back down Courtenay Place, go around again, and you just go and watch the cars because the paint jobs were so cool, and they'd do those tricks. Then we come back from Australia, and it was like, you could feel the aggression.
Well, the air's different.
It's different. Like, I'd have little tweakers just like, actually, like, what are you trying to do? Like, like, are you serious? Like, and that's when I became aware that New Zealand also had a meth problem, because it's an aggressive drug. I mean, it's the 2020s version of the crack epidemic. From what I can tell from the media and stuff. But I noticed the difference on Courtenay, and this was back the end of 2015 we came back.
I mean, I remember going out, as Wellington youth, you snuck out, you had your pointy school shoes, and like you had to be done up, probably go out.
Yeah.
And it's something that I didn't really think about. Right, that point of privilege where I felt safe, and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which was, but it's a different lens, like looking on right now, and I think being young is anchored in that ability to experience and go out and see these things, and they should have the same privilege I had to not think and worry about their safety while going out. That's not a big ask. That's not a crazy ask, right?
Absolutely.
That's actually
and especially in a city as small as Wellington. Wellington is really small. In comparison to like Sydney or Melbourne or Perth even. Like it's what, 200,000?
Yep. It's
if that?
Yeah. You're right.
It's tiny. It's a village.
Wellington is in some growth pains, and it's the cracks are showing, man. The cracks are really, really showing. And
I was wondering if you thought, because I'm seeing a repeater history, I'm wondering if you're thinking, okay, because I'm stepping back and looking at it contextually from what I've seen before, post-recessions or post-crashes, actually. Do you think it's got anything to do with the time, the economic stresses, the political stresses, all these other things that are going? Because I'm seeing a lot of similar things that I saw in the 80s. A lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to tackle that?
I do, to a certain degree, of are there external factors that are contributing to this cause?
Yeah.
And
is it? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I feel like things are hard. Things are hard all over the place, and so often when things happen, we try to point the finger back to a certain exact point, or go, it's the government's fault, which is just the reality of it, right? But I mean, in both the situation that's happened and the accordance of violence, I think there's an issue in how they release people that are getting kicked out of bars. I know it's related to that, but I'm like, you're just releasing them onto the street, which is just stupid. But I think they're compounding factors, but there's just ground level issues and holes that were missed for these situations. You know what I mean? Where the rise in interest rates, contributing that to this is really
Oh, I wasn't thinking so much the rise in interest rates, because if you can even afford interest rates, you're probably okay, and you're not hanging out on Courtenay Place till 3 a.m. in the morning just getting drunk in a corner.
Maybe they are. They're probably the ones there, aren't they?
But that's the thing. I think most cities have got that. I think Wellington is actually unique in a sense that, like you said, it's small, right? I mean, you've got a few places which is Courtenay Place mostly, where people actually hang around in numbers.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. And part of that is actually hospitality places are actually the resources, the change of policies. I know they're doing quite a lot of safety mitigation for like scanning.
Give us a little bit before you, because you're quite knowledgeable on this. Give us a little bit of your background and stuff that you do, because you're in the group helping organise this rally. Right. But like, just give us a little background on you, because I didn't introduce you properly, and this is the first time you've been on radio with me. Yeah. I know you've been on VIFA and stuff, but just give us a little bit of background, and then go back to what you were just saying.
I've worn many different hats, but I think for something which is relevant to this is in UK I've actually worked with community organisations who used to work with disaffected youth. So and the knife crime is actually quite big. And part of that is looking at places where they actually hang around and what they do and etc. I mean, again, closures of like facilities where what you mentioned in the past, where they can actually go and do studios or youth centres where they can actually play sports or do music things and podcasts and that sort of thing. Actually narrow down, and these kids actually go on the streets. They're bored, and there's. I mean, look, I don't. I mean, that's a broader subject, and I don't want to digress into that. But I looked this up. The local recent violence. I wanted to confirm, but it's actually up at 6% from last year. Yeah. Right. And
what was that? Sorry.
6%.
What is up 6%?
The violent crimes in central Wellington have increased.
Really?
Yep, 6%. I want to.
You double check that, yeah.
I want to check the numbers, but it shows that year on year there's incremental increase. Now this is two things. There's varying numbers and how that's actually reported. Please.
I was going to say
yes. Yeah. So nationally, the number is actually different. How police are actually reported is different.
Yeah.
Stats are doing sort of a broader view and not actually, they're speaking more about nationally rather than Wellington.
Right.
But when you look at the initiatives for City Council, that's it has actually, according to their report, is decreased, and their presence.
That's exactly what I was going to. So so I'm sure you speak of the Pornicky promise that Tabitha put up, but did that decrease?
Marginally or significantly?
Did it? Was it a net positive, net negative?
To be honest, I wish I could actually speak on with authority on this, and perhaps it might be someone who's actually best knowledgeable. I know Minister Paul,
Tamitha Paul, yeah.
Yeah, he's done an amazing work.
Because isn't she the originator of the Pōneke Promise?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's about sexual violence in the city, right?
It's actually
Hospitality,
it's anchored in sexual harassment and assaults, but
Right.
it's actual overall just nightlife safety and Pōneke Promise to look after our rangatahi, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's exactly where we're pushing into.
Yes. Sorry.
No, carry on.
And I think part of it is you mentioned something about so unhoused people, like increase in the number of unhoused individuals who are actually quite close to
in the
proximity
city.
to, and they were largely blamed for by politicians depending on the election cycle, but fundamentally that's not really the heart of it. I mean,
No.
as people who are actually like going and using these hospitality venues is actually largely the numbers of casualties which are actually coming out, and you can see. I mean, I can personally speak from personal experience, not just me, and with friends of mine, and we've been attacked. Whether that's been racially motivated, increase in like drinking alcohol, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
And also it's just sometimes given the proximity, like these things tend to be quite an incubator, and they highlight quite it could be like started off with an individuals and sort of blows up. So I think there's quite a few. I don't think we can actually pinpoint to some certain thing.
One certain thing, but there's probably what I'm seeing, and I grew up here during the 80s which was probably one of the worst. Clearly, nobody was really doing much about the regular violence in pubs.
I think
from a Thursday, Friday to Saturday, it wasn't a thing. The cops would turn up. The guys would beat each other up like they always did when they got drunk. Then some people would get arrested and some people would fall on the streets. So I'm talking about Auckland.
No, but you're bang on the money in terms of where the issue is. It's undiagnosed men with anger issues.
I mean, and can't handle their grog.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
I think it's
and then if you're young coming into it, like back in those days, we didn't have as many security guards. I don't even think CCTV existed in 82 or 83.
Oh man,
there's no mobile phone.
Beforehand. Like, I'm not blaming the
things just happened.
But all these factors at play. But again, I try to go back to a root issue. But I think men in the way they deal with their emotions, it's like they get drunk and either cry or fight, right?
Yeah.
They either throw fists or tears of I love you.
I mean, sometimes I don't like to say my opinion because I'm an ex-gen and I'm probably very un-PC.
Well, I'll say it for you.
But it became normal for me, and I heard this, it was really weird because it was either you or somebody else said to me, oh, we just ran away from them because this is just a normal night out on Wellington. And I'm like, that was exactly my attitude when I'm 16 in a bar, because I could get into bars at 16, and I'm watching all the men fight, and if my girlfriends have come from, if I was at work with somebody and they've come to work, I'll be like, go grab all the jugs, girls, we're free drinking for the rest of the day. And my girlfriends would be like, is this normal? And I said, it happens every weekend. And this is how you drink all night and then you go off to the nightclub. Like, you don't pay for anything.
Right? Repeat.
And rinse and repeat. But the violence was normalized. Right? The violence was very, very normalized back then. And when I heard somebody say that again, are we going back to that space and time where attacks on people in clubs or in the street in Courtenay Place, are we just normalizing that again?
I think
because I don't think we want to go back there because
we definitely don't. And that's what I would question about the reporting as well. It's like how much of it's actually reported.
Yeah,
like how many incidents of either verbal racial abuse.
I'm really
or something.
glad you brought that up. Yep,
it's
okay.
No, that's what I was just saying. It's a hard thing to measure.
And I think part of that, the Pōneke Promise, and if I remember, they the sexual violence, which was actually quite prominent at the time for hospitality workers as well as those who actually attend, was, shocking numbers. And to be honest, I had no idea it was actually that bad until this was actually, when I saw the rallies and the initiative which Town Paul was actually leading at the time. And that brought about changes in terms of CCTV camera, which were actually installed, lighting in terms of like alleyways, etc. And these things have actually quite helped. And I know there's
well, it turns out it hasn't based on your data.
No, this is it. And the reason I wanted to go back to reporting is because there are problems in terms of police involvement and how that's actually reported and successfully following it through prosecution, etc. And parts of that, I think people have actually at points, and I'm actually one of them, who've actually resigned to saying, well, they're not going to get them. I mean, this is actually... nothing's going to be done about it. I think that's disillusionment for within
people become complacent with what is
not so
instead
much
of
complacent, but I think it's just you kind of see things which have actually happened in the past. And I can speak for myself personally. And there was an incident where after a year and a half, they've said like we're not going to prosecute because we don't believe. They didn't even pass it on to the Crown Prosecution Service. They actually said
what happened? You don't talk about it, or just sorry?
It was. I put it this way: there was overwhelming evidence in terms of CCTV witnesses and and they've actually managed to track down the person, etc. But at some point within the police, they've actually made a decision that it is not worth their time to put this into Crown Prosecution Service. Now,
and how is okay? I've got like 1,000 questions, right? Because I can understand. I can understand. Growing up where I've grown up, there's a lot of distrust in the police, and people didn't think that anything would, but I would have thought that at this day and age when they're saying and acknowledging stuff, they're still deciding whether it's worth it to them. Isn't it supposed to be worth it to the victim, whether they want to push something or not?
Oh no, I definitely wanted to push, and that was it. But if they don't actually decide not to go ahead with a prosecution, then there's very little you can do about it.
What if? So does that mean if they don't want to go with the prosecution, you can't even get a private lawyer, or could you?
You can go through an appeal process.
An appeal,
which is actually quite long and arduous.
Yeah.
And for something, I've waited a year and a half at this point. I mean, so
okay,
how's that going to? But this is sorry. I know. I don't want to make this.
That's an example, right?
About me. And before I can do, I wanted to mention this. My sincere condolences to the Smith family. And it's a tragic loss. It's a needless loss of life. And, you don't want mothers burying, 21-year-olds. And that's just...
I mean, all I could think of, I remember there was some stuff back in when there was that case in town and some of the boys were getting assaulted and they had nothing to do with it. And I'd actually said to my son, who was about 25 at the time, he doesn't leave the house normally. He's a house elf. Hi, TJ. But...
Not the elf.
Yeah, he's the house elf. But I said to him, you are not going to town this weekend. Because I heard that random people that had nothing to do with it were getting run up on in Wellington. I said, no. Because there's one thing that I've already had quite a, I know about that life from Auckland and stuff. I've been assaulted randomly. I've been, I've had my run-ins with people that did, even in clubs here back in 2000. I got punched square in the face.
Whoa.
And this was after going to the security guard and saying, hey, somebody's stolen our bags. And then, Yeah. And then I'm like, and he was like, oh, yeah. You know, and I'm like, hang on a minute, somebody's stolen our bags. The next thing I know, I'm being punched square in the face.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm a little scrapper, so I just jumped up again.
I mean, that's an interesting one to talk. Even talking in the case of Luke, is what point do bouncers have to play in this? And I think that's something I messaged before about the accused was kicked out of a club prior for trying to start a fight, right?
That's
Like,
apparently.
do you know what I mean? Are you releasing issues unsolved from not on my premises?
Yeah.
I've done my
but
job.
anywhere else.
But I'll let you out wild in the public to do whatever it
Absolutely.
is. Is there an initiative they actually contact the police for these things, and then they just make
And they
aware?
can go to the, like, back, I don't know if they do this now, but they used to take you to, like, if guys were really drunk wandering the streets, they'd put you in the dry out tank. You stay there till the morning until you're sober. You're not left wandering around the street.
You save them and them other people from doing dumb things and needless loss of life, right?
And I think, what about police patrols? I think they had, they've, I know at the moment police are actually, in terms of numbers, there's issues there, also call outs, etc.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, especially it was a Saturday night, wasn't it?
It was Saturday night.
It was Saturday night. It was.
We do have give light. We got to give light to the initiatives that are at play, but we question where the loophole was, right? So there's like, give me 10. Is it give me 10?
There's a
Give me 10,
watering place with
yes.
So I've never seen them, so I don't know where they are.
Right next to
But
Lucky's.
I don't I'm not a person that's out every week, so I don't know.
So they're right next to Lucky's.
Yeah,
But how close that bus stop is to that spot is wild.
Yeah.
It's actually so
Are
close.
they opposite? Were they opposite? Oh, so were they opposite?
They are parked up where Lucky's Burger and the on Courtenay Place.
The pancake place?
Corner of Courtenay Place in Taranaki.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Lucky's
Yeah.
Chicken,
So it's
Best
opposite.
damn chicken in Wellington. I'm telling you, you hear it first.
I know there was a great poor pancake place.
Not for nothing, free mail. They pay me.
Sushi. There's a sushi place there too.
So they're based right outside that.
That's
area.
literally opposite.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So and there's Leah, we found out about the ethnic community patrol.
Oh yeah, that was news.
Hey, if anyone
What?
listening, you've seen some
What?
ethnic brothers doing patrols, let me know because we are saying,
Yeah.
what? Boom.
Because I mean, like
Absolutely,
when I came back and I saw this, and I saw like how Courtenay Place had changed after I'd been away for a significant period of time. Well, it was only 10 years, but it felt like forever.
Only 10 years.
But, like, and I saw, like, this doesn't even feel friendly anymore.
Yeah.
And I said to my girlfriend that stays, and she's my neighbor, I said, do we need to have Auntie Patrol out here? Because, like, some of these kids are getting into some stuff. And do we need to be driving around in a car? Maybe not walking the streets because we're both pretty old now.
But it's so interesting because we talk about nightlife and how that's dead. I'm like, this is a sure killer. If you got your auntie walking down the street.
but then, like, why? I don't know if they have Māori wardens
They
here.
do have Māori-
They do
they
have
do-
Māori
they do have
wardens.
Māori
Well,
wardens.
do we need to have
But does
the
that
uncles out doing something useful? Being like, what do you think? Working off that mid drift. That mid-drift belly button and just walking around and with the water and being grumpy at everybody instead of me. They're like, how about that?
Yeah. I think there's something which I can excel at. Like,
Would you do it?
I'm getting that age where I'm just grumpy about everything.
Nah, would you do it? Would you be one of the ethnic patrollers?
I would.
Look, I think,
But I need two big buff guys right beside me.
but yeah,
Or some Dobermans.
Yeah, so I
Two
can
big
just
dogs.
go, get him.
Two big dogs off the chain.
Grab that kid and throw him in the back. We're taking him home.
Nah, not that one.
What? He's had another bottle of beer. No, you're not.
He's going home with the white girl. Get him,
Taking you
boys.
home to
Get
your
him.
mum.
He's going home with the white girl. No,
But you know what I mean? Like, do we need
but-
that?
But I think in Auckland, the Pacifica community have got Pacifica community have got uncles, and they part of it is people are acting up, and it's deterrence rather than you don't have to get into a scrap, and it sort of encourages if you're those who are actually familiar with connected to the churches and the community, just seeing you act out. I mean, for young people that perhaps that's being watched all the time is bad enough with the CCTV. I mean, that's supposed to be helpful. But is it? Is
there enough? I don't know.
Exactly, right? Like,
I'm not out enough.
I'm not a parent, but I feel like that's the first thing when your child's born. You would be like, oh my God, how do I protect this thing? You know what I mean? Like you can't be following every single day. You've got to be some trust in initiatives that your community, your councils have set up to protect your young. And that's not crazy to ask for.
No, it's not.
And the way it's done.
Especially when they're out there, when they're out of the house, once they turn 18 and they want to hang out with their friends because they've been brought up in New Zealand and that's what their friends are doing. They want to go out there, and you just want to know that whatever happens, they come home safe.
Yeah, and
not drunk, not high, not drugged up. You just want to know that they're okay.
How about we start with just coming home?
Coming home, yeah.
Or they're somewhere safe, right? And they're aware of, and if they're not, there are situations and avenues where they can be safe.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are...
I mean, I remember the first time that my sons... both when they turned 18 went to a club. They went to a club with me.
Ain't no way. Actually?
Yeah, I went to the club with them. And the first thing, like my oldest son, well, it was really weird because that was the 90s when he was turning 18 and like I'd be walking down the street and I'd, have the babysitter and all that and I'll be having a night out with my girlfriends and I'll be bumping into all of his friends from school saying that I'm going to their club. I'm like, actually, sorry, that's our club and we're just letting you in. You know what I mean? And it was weird but it was cool because they'd be like, oh, auntie, I'll see you there later. Like, yeah, cool. Yeah. So we're actually looking out for one another in some kind of weird way. And then also when my youngest son went to a club for the first time, and he's not really a person that goes out much. He was never really into that social stuff.
House elf.
He was just really surprised that it was dark inside.
He's
like, it's so dark in here, Mum.
That's the sort of thing you want your kids to worry about, right? It's not about coming home with like, are they going to be attacked
and being there when they're new in that environment.
I want it to be like, this is too dark.
The torch on. What's your name, girl?
And that is the kind of problem which I want to go back to.
But I mean, like a lot of our mums that have come and they've come older and they're not thinking they're not going to be seen in a club. We know that. They're not going to go out there. And this is the thing. Damn. I know what's out there. Yeah. So when they first turned and they wanted to do that with their friends, I'm like, okay, you can come to our club.
Yeah.
I'll be over there though. You stay over there. I got my eyes on you. You'll be cool.
And they'll be ducking, trying not to be seen. But hey, listen, I know like the time's actually kicking. But there's a few things which I want to highlight. One, I want there's rumours about police having ethnic community patrol. Look, stop lying. We don't see them, right? And this is not just anecdotal. Like everyone,
I think it's a good idea to have them, though. I think it might be a good idea.
Yes, but if there's something which is actually already out there, if there's something which is an initiative you're thinking about and you're promoting, don't like say that it's already out there. Yeah.
Because
and there's only a few communities which they've actually targeted, and those communities have actually got funding to actually go and promote and I mean that doesn't actually, it's not very inclusive, so don't make it out to be something like that. And rather they talked about it once it's actually live and it's visible and for people to actually like see and connect. That's actually much more productive and helpful rather than a PR exercise.
So the ethnic people, that's run by who?
The ethnic patrols, Wellington. Oh no, multicultural Wellington initiative. But I don't know.
You don't know anything about it.
I haven't seen it. It'll be interesting to see if they're out on that day. But again,
you did see them there on the rally. Can they be there at the rally?
Well, who are they? That's
the
whole thing. We don't know where they exist. Now, again, this is no shade. This is not. We're just saying. Maybe do better public media.
Absolutely.
Be there and be visible and be seen. It's way more better than.
And quickly, because we've only got 1 minute and 45 seconds, I want you to give me a rundown of what's going to happen on Monday, as well as what's going to be the ongoing thing.
Can I just quickly, before you do that, can I talk about there's other initiatives which use as a deterrent for Germany. There's they've put targets on surprise attacks from behind, which is harsher penalties, etc. In London, they've actually increased the number of this is known as CCTV camera and increase it. Look, I know that's actually quite controversial. It's the use of it, etc., and privacy that comes into. But I want to highlight. I don't want it to be doom and gloom. There's things which we can actively do, and bystander law. Which is actually protecting people who've actually come forward, and also for them to intervene so they don't actually get prosecuted as an assault.
44 seconds. Let's go.
So the campaign's pushing for safer Wellington communities at the city safety plan that's coming out. But Monday, 8:30. So
8:30 is really early.
Yeah, it is very early. It's the High Court on Molesworth Street, and it's first initially and most importantly show support for Luke's family. Yeah, and then they give a little, and
all the other kids that want to go to Courtenay Place and be safe, right?
All your youth.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to thank both of you for coming in. I know I was being grumpy auntie today on the WhatsApp chat group.
You're so good.
Just to get here. Next week we might talk about something else, maybe carry it on, but it'll be after the case.
Kia ora.
Have a great week. Well, it won't be a great weekend. Turn out on Monday.
Come show up.
Yeah, come show up.
Enjoy your Saturday.